Whatever. We can redo it.
Having a conversation. All right, how was that?
Hello, my name is Jessica. I have done 9 ultramarathons and I'm getting ready for my 3rd road marathon for the Asheville Marathon coming in March. And I'm here with my friend Carol and we're going to talk about some running nutrition.
Absolutely. My name is Carol and I've been running for years. However, I have never gone the distance. And March 15th, I'm running the Asheville Marathon. It's my first time. I'm super excited, super nervous. And so happy to have Jessica as a mentor so I can ask some of these questions that some of you might have as well. So, thinking of that, nutrition. Like, I am really have thought about that and nervous about, like, what are some things that during the race that you want to maintain? I know they talk about the bonkers at 20 miles. And what are some suggestions that you have for us to do to pay attention to during the race?
So definitely I would say keeping it simple, and there's kind of a quote that says tomorrow starts tonight. So meaning that you should be training how you want to fuel for race day, so that way you avoid that 20-mile bonk. So such as taking goos or different type of nutritions, different blocks or bars about every 30 minutes to about an hour. You'll kind of get used to it as you keep running and as you keep doing these 20-mile long runs. That way you can actually practice what you're going to fuel with on race day.
Yeah, good suggestion. That's definitely helpful. I know I pay attention to that like 30 to 40 minute time frame if I'm running longer to be like, okay, even if I'm feeling great, you have to catch up so that you don't hit that wall, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think to your body, as you start doing these longer runs, you kind of become in tune with your body and you start listening to, okay, I'm starting to feel a certain type of way, maybe I'm ready for a gel, or even just setting it on your watch, a little nutrition kind of timer. That way you can kind of remind yourself that your body might not be telling you that you're hungry, but you want to get ahead of that 20-mile bonk, that 22-mile bonk during a long run like that. That way you can kind of preserve your glycogen stores. That way you don't have that bonk. You want to kind of keep re-upping the tank before it gets too empty, because then you're going to have that bonk and not feel great.
Okay, so speaking of that, because I've gotten to 20 twice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, we got another hour or so here.
You got 6 more miles, another 10K, yeah.
So, like, what would be your suggestion maybe at, like, mile 17, like, or timing? What would be your suggestion around to pay attention, like, ahead of that game? So when you're hitting 20, you're like, all right, I'm gliding. We're getting there.
Truly, it's just practice. And I mean, I still have hit a 20-mile bonk. I still, and I do think that you still can take a goo even at mile 25, just because you only have 1 or 2 miles left. If that is hitting at that 30-minute to 45-minute, maybe 50-minute mark, even if you only have a mile left, go ahead and take it. I would just stay up on top of it and keep tracking kind of by the minutes. That way, you don't run out completely of that kind of glycogen. Yeah, just because, there are different types of sugars. I won't get too sciencey when it comes to that, but, taking a goo or taking a more engineered type of kind of things that we have here, these are all going to be formulated for that endurance versus, I think there's a trend going on right now where people are eating like Nerds gummy clusters. Have you seen those? And those are great and they're, a more affordable option, but taking those, it only is like that quick fructose. So it's gonna kind of crash you faster. So taking something like an actual formulated engineered product is gonna kind of help last you a little bit longer.
Be more sustainable.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes,
yeah.
which is, most important. This is such helpful tips, I know, for me and hopefully for many of you out there.
So tell me a little bit about the type of nutrition that you've been training with so far.
Absolutely. So I do really like to eat as natural and organic as I possibly can. So the food that I'm eating at home is more carb-based with like sweet potatoes and some proteins and quinoa and that kind of stuff. However, for my runs, I love the noon tablets. So I like the one that has caffeine in it. Since I've done the 220s the first time, I used the Tailwind Endurance Fuel and I put it in my backpack and I sipped on that the whole time.
Good, okay.
And then I had, there's a food gel that I liked that's more food-based. It had, the ingredients were all whole foods.
Whole foods, yeah.
And fruits, and so that was really nice. I also will have a handheld water bottle. So to me, there's also a bar that has dates and bananas. It's a whole food bar and has caffeine. So I feel like when I'm nibbling on that throughout the time, I'm maintaining that 30 minutes, 40 minutes to maintain that.
Right. And I think it's important to kind of note too, so it sounds like you're kind of doing a couple different types of fueling. So you're eating something, which is the chewing, so you're eating, and then you're also drinking. So that is kind of to touch on, there's 3 different types, I guess, of nutrition. So you can have like a powder, which is, you know, the noons or the tailwinds that you can drink the whole time or kind of sip throughout. You have like nutrition bars or gummies, Cliff Blocks, that type of thing. And then you have your goos, which is kind of already like pre-chewed, I guess. Like it already is super easy to kind of consume. So there's kind of positives and negatives when it comes to all 3 of those. However, do honestly whatever works for you. And if that's kind of how you've been training, I would keep maintaining that, especially through race day. You know, we get a lot of questions of, you know, what do I eat the night before a race? Well, if you're training for a marathon, I would eat exactly what you eat before your normal long runs. Treat this as just like a normal long run, although it is race day, just because, you know, if you've been eating a whole big pizza the night before a long run and you wake up and you feel great, cool, do that. If you haven't been doing that, I probably would not do that before race day.
Yes.
You know, so kind of keep doing what you've been doing. And to kind of touch on what you said about the drinking and taking kind of nutrition as you're going, I think that's a great way for folks if they haven't taken any of the stuff over here, they haven't ever taken a goo or a Cliff Block or anything like that. Everyone has drinking water or like a Gatorade or something like that, which is essentially what these powders are. They're basically like a powdered Gatorade. So they have electrolytes, you know, sodium, potassium, carbohydrates, the sugars, just to kind of quickly get into the bloodstream and quickly, you know, get you back from not feeling bonky anymore. And so just keep doing what you've been doing and just kind of, you know, don't do anything that you haven't done on race day.
Yeah, because that's important, right?
Yeah,
like we definitely don't want to try something new on race day.
Yeah.
And like I've learned, I like beet juice, but I definitely shouldn't drink it the morning I run.
Well, now you know.
Now I know, and I'm not doing that on marathon day.
And a lot of these races too, you know, they will kind of post or they will have on their FAQ page what they plan on having as their, you know, race day nutrition or race day liquid or electrolyte, and kind of look that up. That way, if you know that you want to go light, you don't want to carry much on you, and you do want to rely on those aid stations, you know, if they have Gatorade, then be practicing drinking Gatorade every few miles, you know.
Yeah.
That way you can see how your body reacts to it.
Yeah. And currently there are no gel stations at the Asheville Marathon.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So to prepare to bring your own for that, but they will have Gatorade and I think later on the pickle juice.
Yes.
And
which is good for cramping.
Yes.
And see, a lot of people are like, oh, pickle juice, why? You know, in ultra marathons, that's a staple at almost every single aid station, just because it's super high in sodium. It just helps with any potential cramping that you might have. And I hear that the race is pretty hilly, so we don't want any cramping just from going up and down so much.
Yeah.
And then the Gatorade and the Coca-Cola is really good just for the caffeine, carbonation. Carbonation is really good if you start to have any like tummy issues too. Just drinking carbonation can kind of help break things up a little bit.
Oh,
And
that's good.
If you burp, then maybe you can make some more space for some more fuel to kind of go down.
Yeah.
But and then Gatorade too, just for the electrolytes and then the sugar.
Yeah, I need to try the pickle juice before the race because I have
Just
not
plug your nose.
done that. I love pickles.
Yeah, good.
No problem with that, but maybe just practice drinking a little bit of that so on race
just a little
day.
sip.
Yeah, I'm not like, ah.
Yeah,
No.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've been doing really well on your nutrition, so I would just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, do you have any more suggestions for our viewers out there for nutrition?
I would say find what works for you, just because, so again, the 3 main types is, you know, you have your goos, you have your powders, and then you have your edibles, so like the gummies and kind of like Cliff Blocks or Stroop waffles or even like nutrition bars. Kind of find what works for you, and if one of those 3 doesn't work, then try something else. I probably would suggest starting with some kind of powder that you can kind of sip throughout, and each one again is going to have their own positives and negatives. I ran an ultra marathon and I only had Cliff Blocks with me, and it was freezing cold, and so those things were like hard rock candy, so that was kind of a whoopsie, you know. So you're still learning as you go onto this journey, and so, you know, keep trying, and you never know what might work. So
awesome.
You got it.
Yes, yes. Love all this helpful
Yeah.
tips. Thank you, Jessica, so
course.
much. Relieves a little bit of the nerves for some
Yeah.
of us newbies in the marathon.
The running, the race should be the fun part. You know, the training is where you mess up. The training is where you have to go to the bathroom. You know,
Right.
and then race day should just be a celebration of all your hard work.
Super excited. And one other thing, I know every day you go out for a run, especially in Western North Carolina, the temperature changes and you're like, what do I wear? Because I'm cold right now, but I know in 10 minutes I'm gonna wanna strip a layer. So what do you suggest for clothing? You know, I think around that 30 to 40 degrees, it's always like a questionable extra layer. Or not.
I know. So there's a phrase, be bold, start cold. And so you know that you're gonna warm up basically in that first hour. I would say if you're doing a training run, you can definitely start with a couple more layers. And if you're running past your car, then you can kind of ditch them as you go. But yeah, I would say, or kind of what I wear is like a lightweight long sleeve. I will wear shorts, maybe some taller socks to kind of keep warm, maybe some gloves, kind of depending, but just know that you will warm up. And I know it kind of is not the best to kind of start out cold, but kind of do some jumping jacks to kind of warm up a little bit, because
Yeah.
you will end up warming up whenever you're out there.
Yeah.
Or like a headband, something that you can kind of tuck and put in a pocket if you get warm. Just lots of layers. And if you have a friend or family member out there, you can always kind of ditch clothes and kind of give it to them too.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
have people stationed.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of warming up,
Yeah.
that goes right into that. Like, what do you do to warm up before your marathon the day of?
Right. Well, first, I definitely make sure I eat enough food. I do think that food and like the thermogenesis of it like is going to kind of help warm you up also. I wouldn't do anything too crazy. Basically keep it as simple as how you've been training. So if you do kind of a quick little warm up before you do a training run, I would just mimic that exact same thing. The body likes routine, and the body likes kind of doing the same thing over and over again. You know, I wouldn't switch anything up on race day, but for me, I like to just do some kind of like static stretches. I will do kind of a little down and back, nothing more than like half a mile, just to kind of warm up the legs a little bit.
Yeah.
We're already running 26 miles,
Right.
so
We don't
so
need to add more.
you will warm up during that, but especially if it is a cold day too, and you are shooting for that PR. You know, for a lot of people, that PR distance is doing a marathon. That is, you know, a huge accomplishment. So you definitely don't want to, you know, get injured out there. So definitely kind of do some type of little warm up, even if it is a little jog to and from the car to the start or whatever it might be. Just do something, kind of some little movements, but don't go overboard.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the static stretching is like
Yeah.
you're moving your muscles, getting the blood flowing. This
Yeah.
is all such good suggestions,
Yeah.
Jessica. Thank you so much. We are going to be doing a shakeout run the
Yeah.
day before the marathon, starting at New Belgium at 1 p.m. So that'll be fun. I think it's 3.3
3-ish
miles.
miles, yeah, just a nice
Get
little-
run 3,
yeah.
just something nice and jog.
Yeah.
So we invite you all to come to that. And yeah, excited.